Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. Gemini Brett here to spend a little time, some transmission about the Leo new moon, which is about to align. I am recording this on a day some call out of time, July 26, 2022, as it falls in the Empire's calendar anyway. And we have new moon in 2 days, July 28th on a Thursday. So I thought I'd get a little bit ahead and also transmit from this amazing bowl of a Cancer moon Venus conjunction, which is happening right now. So maybe we should look to that chart for a moment too. I can tell you where it lies in the shamanic astrology mystery school's approach to the great synodic cycles of Venus with the sun and earthly skies, the pentacle. But let me first just start by saying, hi, how are you? What's up? It's nice to have you here live, or perhaps in what I perceive as the future, but you're present. I hope everything is going okay in your world despite the madness of the outer realms. May the madness out there remind us that there is always work to do within. Aren't we here to feel, heal, know, and grow? Growing is our knowing, which has to come from healing, which, my friends, begins with feeling. And that would have been a wonderful way to begin last month's jam, when the moon met the sun in the tropical sign of Cancer. And maybe I'm transmitting from that amazing embrace of moon and Venus in our skies today. But we're about to tune into this great meeting of the luminaries in that zone of our sky that we call Leo, right? Let's talk about the fire. Let's talk about the flames. Before we begin, I want to share a few events that are coming soon, perhaps to a theater call you. I want to share a few places where you can catch me live if you would like. I've been up to a lot, as we can see on the screen. And you know what? Let me close Stellarium as it takes up some bandwidth. We'll make this thing big. Oops. Well, for those of you who are in the School of Astrology, expect that mid-year survey to be coming soon to a theater called you. Also, you heard at the very beginning there, the very beginning of a moon song created by the great Erik Deutsch, based upon my astrological notes, which we will tune back into at the end. I think I'll use the notes as a vehicle for exploration of this new moon chart, and then we'll listen to that song in its entirety. It's about 7 minutes long at the end of this, so you can have some time to drop in, meditate, align the intentions, as moon and sun align now. So this new moon day, which is Thursday, Jupiter's Day, July 28th, 2022, will also find me in the evening across the bay, though really I'll be sitting right here and beaming through the satellite device. For San Francisco Astrological Society. I'm giving my favorite talk that I give. It evolves every time. I've been deep in the studies this week, many different points of view about zodiacal history. Like, where did this thing come from? What about sidereal versus tropical versus constellational? What is the Mula pin? And things like that. Because really this talk reveals the sacred astronomy that is hidden in the glyphs that we use for the signs at this time. And I go through almost all of the glyphs and just show clear tropical astronomy written within them. And I then also reveal the astronomy of beings like the twins and the crab and the archer and some other things that I believe are undeniable, but also lead to a potential need for us to revise our ideas of where the zodiac is and where it comes from, and kind of looking at the history of zodiacal development over time throughout the East and the West. So please join me if you'd like. You can find your way to SF Astrological Society.com with the magic of your keyboard. And I think right on the homepage, or maybe you have to click events here, you can find this talk and you can sign up. Looks like it's $20. And I will tell you, I will do everything in my power to make it well worth it. If you're a member of SFAS, $10 for you. Be there. All right. The following month in August, I will be speaking at the ISAR conference. I'm really excited to gather with some peers. It'll be actually the next Moon-Venus conjunction. So August 25th to 29th in Westminster, Colorado. It's basically Denver at the Westin Hotel. Now, this is an in-person event. They actually decided not to go hybrid at all. It's not going to be zoomed out. There will be recordings. So if you want to catch up with what I'm doing or any of the other speakers, there's a great assemblage of speakers at this amazing conference. And so you can catch us post-conference by audio recording if you like. I will actually make sure that at least my post-event, I'm trying to get to speakers, workshop is video, because it's going to be on AstroLocality, the many forms, and we're going to do some deep dives with folks that are there. So I'm really excited to catch a lot of my favorite astrologers live. It's been a while. So if you click on my face there, you'll find the talk that I'm giving, which is on a timing system, a synthesis of ancient timing techniques that I found my way to. I find really works. I call it directed daily and directed day of the year and directed day of the month profections. If you followed my channel here, you've seen me demonstrate some of that, although it's been a little while. But I'm really excited to show this technique, how it synthesizes many things of old, how it's not as new as I thought it is or was when I first found my way to it quite naturally, and some of the statistical analysis that I've been doing to see if it's really a thing. Also, I'll be giving this workshop, Where in the World, AstroLocality, local space, astrocartography, cyclocartography, all sorts of things. So if you're at the conference, please stay a day late and hang out with me for a 4-hour journey through time and space. All right, finally, before we dive into this Leo new moon chart, I will say that San Francisco Astrological Society this week on Thursday, and then next month on this side of the bay, because NCGR San Francisco Bay Area is now, I guess, headquartered more in Berkeley or perhaps here in Richmond, as I've recently taken over as president of NCGR San Francisco. And we decided that before our annual public meeting, it would be good to have some astrology presented. So I'm very excited to share some of the amazing mercurial things that I have learned from beings like Daniel Jamario and Gary Caton, but especially from Mercury himself getting out there in the sky with the eyes wide open. This event is free, though donations gladly received. You can read all about it at ncgrsanfrancisco.org. So Mercury cycles, Hermes steals the herd, and then our annual meeting. And I am just recalling, please head to GeminiBrett.com and sign up for my mailing list. If you are not on it, you will see that right here on the home page. You will also find a place where you can click and learn more about my School of Earth Astrology and the Golden Year. Never too late to change. I guess that's what I would look like if I shaved and got a haircut. Anyway, but please, join the mailing list so I can send you an email about the conversation I will be having with my dear friend Tammy Brunk next week for a wonderful summit that she is running right now. I'm happy to say I will be beaming from Maui. All right, well, let's find our way to things like lions and crabs and talk about this Leo new moon chart, shall we? We shall. Pretty serious energetics here, friends. Right, so beginning with any new moon chart, I just start right there. What is Leo? That has me actually inspired to get to the golden year of astrology pages, which you see on your screen. I just actually spoke Leo with my peers there at the school on Sunday. What is Leo? We say it is the domicile of the sun. It is in the fire trine. It is of the diurnal polarity. It is of the cardinal modality. It is opposite and in a pole with Aquarius across the way, that there are these zones, small divisions of the signs that we say are represented by different planetary powers and the essential dignities map. And all of that is wonderful to really tune into the powers of this sign and places within the sign or terms in for consultation and deep dive and astrological analysis. What is Leo archetypally? Many think of Leo as lion. And this thing needs an update, which will be happening very soon. But in our day and age, I just want to say that the constellation is not aligned to the sign as it was in Hellenistic times. This was then down at the bottom of the screen, here towards the top of the present day alignments, where it is crab, at least in half of the tropical sign we call Leo. So for example, this new moon is going to align very close to the honeybee cluster, which lives on the back of the crab. Where this needs a bit of a rewrite is just to take this much of the lion, which is the head and the heart, and also put it here, because in our day and age, the lion's heart, Regulus, it said the royal star that rules them all, has processed to 0 degrees tropical Virgo right there. That procession happened on August 13th, 2012. And so for the rest of our lives, and for really the 2100 years ahead, that star Regulus, the heart of the lion, will be processing through the tropical sign of Virgo. But there is a good amount of lion head that lives here. Actually, let's open Stellarium and take a peek at that together. Make sure I'm sharing my whole screen. I believe I am. Okay. Here is today. This is this Moon-Venus conjunction. Let me rewind time to before sunrise. I woke up for this, but alas, clouds. But there is this beautiful conjunction of Moon and Venus. And I don't want to leave without talking about that at least a little bit. But for now, let's fast forward through time. And we will head to the 28th, Thursday, when moon will have caught up to sun for new moon. Now, as you can see, it's not an eclipse. Moon is north latitude, north of the ecliptic plane, which for the northern hemisphere eyes means higher in the sky than the sun will be. Moon snaking above the sun. So no eclipse, no shadow play for you, but certainly a moon that is new, a synod, a meeting by longitude, right? So here are our celestial longitudes. I'm going to zoom out. This is 0 degrees Cancer here in the center of this circle that's wiggling, okay? This is 15 degrees tropical Cancer right in the middle of the twins of the heavens. So notice I say twins for constellations and Gemini for signs, or crab for constellation, but Leo for signs. In our day and age, this is 0 degrees Leo that I'm circling here. And so a lot of crab. And then this is the lion's heart, Regulus, who has processed to 0 degrees tropical Virgo. That's this line, right? So you can go and it's like, lions and crabs and bears, right? So a lot of the Big Bear constellation projects to these same climes or longitudes of the ecliptic. But very importantly in our day and age, let's actually move this through time a bit and we'll take a different look at this zone of the sky. I'm going to bring them on high. They are very high in the northern hemisphere sky, these signs, right? So this is Leo. these two slices, these two 15-degree slices of this beach ball on your screen. And so you can see there's a lot of lion heads in the latter degree, okay? But the day of the new moon, will have the sun at 6 degrees. And that's why I was saying it's very close to, I mean, not right on, but very close to Praesepe, which is this amazing cluster of stars that live on the lion's back. Some esoteric traditions know it as the manger, and these two stars, Asellus australis and Asellus borealis, as the asses, the donkeys in the manger. Oh, something about the divine birth of the son or the child there. So it's an important thing, I think, to know, and all you students of the Earth Astrology School have heard this too much or not enough, that constellations and signs are very different things, and I'm very interested in asking questions like, what is it for us to have tropical Leo, at least the early degrees, aligned with the heavenly crab in our day and age? In 1,500 years, that slice will be more aligned with the twins. So what is this? I mean, it seems like this precession of the tropical zodiac, the directional zodiac through the constellations, and therefore the sidereal signs, has something to do with the evolution of the archetypes themselves, like this mechanism of evolution. And why I want you to also see this lion's head here in the latter degrees of the sign of Leo today, it's like this, is what a wonderful image to have constellational lion and constellational crab, right? So traditionally these constellations associated with Leo and Cancer, maybe we'd say sun and moon, like in that place of tropical Leo, the house of the sun. In our day and age, there's something where it's like there's this meeting of these masters. It's almost like I could just take the planets away. It's almost like a permanent new moon in this space with the crab and the lion. They're always residing, at least in our day and age. This will change with precession as the signs precess through the constellations process through the sign. So eventually this zone here, let me get my circle device again, which is tropical Leo, 120 to 150 degrees of celestial longitude, the trine from 0 Aries to the quincunx from 0 Aries. This is the space of tropical Leo, directional Leo. Like eventually it will be crab on this side and some of the twins in here. But in our day and age, we have this kind of coming together of crab and lion in tropical Leo. And there's something I've just been spending a lot of time dreaming into that this morning. And it feels like this, it's a different kind of twins, right? The twins live next door. And the twins, as I will reveal in my talk coming up, speak about the length of the shadow, which grows longer between summer solstice and winter solstice, and shorter the other way, the length of the midday shadow anyway. And the crab, which speaks very importantly of sacred astronomy too, for the sun and the moon and all beings walk sideways on the land between the signs, between the tropicos, between the tropics. But what is in our day and age for us to have this kind of sun and moon images of lion and crab? You know, is it Apollo and Diana? Is it the sun and the moon coming together? Is it this merging of the forces diurnal and nocturnal? I have so many questions, not as many answers. So these are the Leo keys that I used for the heart of my transmission for the School of Earth Astrology in Sunday school the other day. Very importantly, this: confidence is not cockiness. Pride is not arrogance. Self-love is not vanity. When we are making a loving, not just making a living, like when we are offering our energy in a way that aligns with our path, our purpose, who we are, right? We should be proud of what we do. It's actually that kind of river of self-love and radiance that allows for the outer radiance. Yeah. So yes, there are very arrogant forms of pride, but pride in and of itself, true pride, is not arrogant at all. It is basically that divine light that has us not only honoring creativity as our birthright, but as our responsibility. So you'll see this prayer I've written at the bottom of the screen. I will uncage my creativity, for living life as art is not only my right, it is my responsibility. I could use a period or an exclamation point, probably a comma right there. But you know what? Let's worry about that shit in Virgo month. Right now, we want to tune into the brilliant light of the sun and the inner mounted flame, right? So the sun, the heart, but also this warmth at the hara, that thing that is stimulated by the lion's breath. You know, lions roll in prides, and they have these tails that kind of look like paintbrushes. And that's what I'm talking about, because this natural way of artistry, the unchecked, the uncaged creative force, this is what Leo wants to be in all of us, in each of us. Now, you'll see that I've cast this Leo new moon chart in such a way that, defies the time you see on the screen, because certainly at 10:55 a.m., the moon and sun meeting here in Leo will be well above the horizon, yes. But what I've done is created a Leo whole sign chart to honor Leo on the 1st. I mean, these might be kind of small on your screen, but these are 12 different images of this new moon chart, right? If you were born with Aries on the rise, then this Leo new moon will be in your 5th sign of passion and romance and risk. Let's start here, actually. Let's start with Leo rising. People always start with Aries rising. Why? Because that Pisces Aries cusp is due east of the center of Earth and therefore works like a global ascendant. And this is why things like the turning of the ages are real. And why the natural zodiac has some astronomical teeth, the natural zodiac being this 0 Aries wheel, right? But so much astrological conditioning has us only looking through one of the 12 windows of this great circle of life called the zodiac. So let us begin with looking through this window, Leo. And maybe before we do, we should speak more about other strong features of this chart. And I want to actually, without necessarily knowing what I'm getting into as I do, I want to call upon my past self from many moons ago, who wrote these production notes for this record that Erik and I have created together. I mean, I should say Erik, master pianist. Erik Deutsch has created based upon notes that I create based upon the chart of the time. We do this for birth charts. We're like 300 of these in now. I want to just show you, if you're interested in learning more, you can go to GeminiBrett.com. You can click on the astrology sessions link there. This is where you can book some time with me if you want to explore anything astrology. But here, Song of the Soul is the place to go if you want to get a unique, like 12-minute-ish song of your birth chart, or offer that as an absolutely unique gift for someone that you love. We've made hundreds of these now, and each is brand new. And for this year, we made 13 songs for the 13 new moons. So let's look at this one here called Leo. And I'll just highlight some of, looks like I did a 0 Aries wheel here to compare it to the map that we are using, which, if you speak musical harmony, our sister science, we are working with a chromatic map of the 12 keys or notes of the Western octave, with A linked to Aries, which puts C at Cancer. Feels so right to me to come out of the C's with no sharps or no flats, and that Aries should have some sharps, you know. Anyway, so Leo becomes C sharp, or if you prefer flats, D flats, in this particular map. There are many ways you can map the zodiac harmonically. This is the way that we are using. And so how this works is when I have planets in Leo, then Erik is allowed to play C sharp. And actually, because this is a Leo event, I will turn the wheel and put the Leo new moon here on the first and treat the ascendant as if it is Leo as well. So we're doing kind of sun signs from the sun, or whole signs from the sign of the sun. And so I put him in the key of Leo. And then, you know, Venus, who is in Cancer at the time, offers the C, and Mars, who's in Taurus, the A sharp, or B flat if you prefer. Jupiter's in Aries, which is A in our map, and Saturn's in Aquarius, G. So it's a very simple system, which first offers this kind of palette of notes that Erik is allowed to play. I mean, interestingly, the first way that this inspiration is done is through limitation, right? So there are no planets in Sagittarius, so you will see no F on this screen. There are no planets in Virgo, so I see no D here, right? So no B, no Gemini. So really tricky, right, to sit down at the piano and not play some of the notes that you're used to playing. For those of you who speak harmony, you know, if you're in the key of C sharp and there's no B, you have no minor seventh, right? If there's no F, you have no O. You have no fourth to play with, which is like, that's like a whole thing, right? I should say, sorry, that's the flat fourth. Anyway, I'll let Erik do the music, and I'll do the astrology. I was a musician for a long time in my life. I mean, I should say I am a musician, but I don't, you know, tour around and play professionally anymore. I did for a long time with Erik, actually, chasing my saxophone around the world. And it's actually an interesting thing to speak about here in Leo realms. I'll say that this new moon is very close to my own Saturn, who lives at 2.5 degrees of tropical Leo. And I'm in a Saturn annual profected month at this time, right? So we always want to like see how a chart of any moment is aligning to the chart of our personal moment. Excuse me. Hi, honey. That's what's going to differentiate, you know, how I experience this thing versus how you experience this thing. I mean, this is how we can learn to see this astrologically, right? So without seeing your natal chart and knowing your specific degrees, like, oh, well, this thing's pretty close to this character's Saturn, who is on an overcoming square with the sun in the nativity, like those kinds of things, right? It's hard to say what this means for you or me. I mean, we so often want to transmit about these energies and maybe speak about what it means for the world, or, you know, this one energetic current that we can all tap into. But it's as we get to know our own natal charts, and you know this well, then we can really start seeing how this fits in for us, right? How can we align to these energies? And I think I will just give a really quick wrap through the signs, but first let's look at the chart more as a whole. I mean, one of the things I'll point your eyes to is this great square here that's connecting all of the fixed signs. That one's really going to be exemplified by the full moon of this cycle in the sign of Aquarius, aligned with Saturn, which will be opposite the sun, of course, full moon, right? In square Uranus and the lunar nodes. So, I mean, that thing is building up now. It's not from the sun and the moon, who are here in earlier degrees, but you can see Mercury is now, or in this new moon chart, very close to the degree where the full moon will align in a couple of weeks. And see, between now and then, Venus will make her move into the sign of Leo, right? Intriguing things. So you can find very clearly this strong cross here with Mercury opposite Saturn, squaring the lunar nodes. Uranus with Mars at the north lunar node, right? I mean, that's a very strong square of the fixed signs. And I cannot imagine my past self who focused in on strong aspects of this chart wouldn't have called that out right away. We're going to find out. I'm actually... Yeah, here we go. The fixed grand cross. Mercury, Mars, Uranus, Saturn nodes. All right, before I go there, let me read the starry story I wrote just as an overall image for Erik to shape his song to. When Prometheus was charged with recreating humankind after the cataclysm, he made us in the image of the gods and out of clay to remind us we have the power to mold our lives. He stole fire from the heavens to give us the power of creation. Art is not only our right, it is our responsibility. So you can hear that that's one of my Leo catchphrases, right? And we're going to hear that in Erik's song at the end of this jam. So some of the alignments I called out were Venus with Lilith square Jupiter to a moon sun in trine with Jupiter, right? So that's one of the beautiful aspects of this chart, which is the moon and sun here in early degrees of Leo, which, by the way, are the bounds of Jupiter in Leo. These are the Egyptian bounds, or the Egyptian terms, these strange subdivisions of the signs. You can see them here as well. They're in the first decan, which in one of the systems is associated actually with Saturn, in another system because Leo with the sun. But this is also known to be the bounds or the terms of Jupiter. So there's that trine in that regard becomes strengthened. You know, the sun is also said to be exalted in the sign of Aries, an honored guest in that sign, right? And so there's more opportunity, in a sense, for Jupiter to receive this energy from the sun because of this mixed reception, as it's called, the moon and the sun and Jupiter's bounds, and Jupiter in the sign of the sun's exaltation. Mixed reception. And it's an applying aspect, right? In fact, after the moon conjoins the sun, her next engagement will be the trine with Jupiter. So the moon will translate the light of the sun to Jupiter. It's really quite solar, you know, and you can't have the roaring flames of Leo without a spark. That's Aries, right? And in the Leo rising design, Aries is on the 9th, the house of spirit, the house of journey. And so beautiful to see Jupiter there and to see this connection, right? So when I focus in on this Venus-Lilith conjunction, which is, I think, very powerful and interesting in our times to see that aligned with much of what is happening in the world outside. There's a beautiful sextile between them with Mars, Uranus, the way they connect into the cross. I bet you I get into that in those production notes too. Maybe I should have called Venus square Chiron, which, you know, you can see Venus here at 12-13 is kind of casting a square between these place degrees of Jupiter and Chiron, but Venus is applying to Chiron while separating from Jupiter. So I maybe should have spoken about the two of them. But regardless, I'm seeking always, when I try to transmit astrological energies through musical harmony to help inspire Erik's channeling of a song for the moment considered, I'm always seeking places of tension and release. And one of those is like in a square and a trine. Let me play this for you. And And hopefully we're not playing the dog who's napping on the rug right now. Ooh, and that's pretty dusty. Anyway, so here's Aries. Or let me start with, Aries Cancer, and then I'll resolve that tension to Aries Leo. Right? Tension and release. I mean, analyzing astrology charts harmonically using this simple chromatic map has really changed the way that I actually experience and hear a chart. I've always heard charts, but now it's really opening up. And my client sessions have very much been inspired by what I'm finding here, and then especially what I hear back from Erik once he records the song. So I want to actually, before I go there, also just look to what's happening right now, where we've had this Moon-Venus conjunction in the sign of Cancer. Maybe you're experiencing Virgo on the rise with the steersman in the 12th. What the heck is up with this guy? Where's he going? Well, if you're used to my work, you're all right with it. Look, just go to the Ascendant Mars trine and we'll find our way through. Maybe waiting for the Libra rising chart with Venus in the 10th could have been perfecto, but I have a session then, so here you go. Apparently I chose this instead of a shower. All right. So, I couldn't have done that with Libra rising. Virgo rising, Mercury in the 12th. Well, let's just explore hidden things. But this Moon-Venus conjunction, right? We have, when Venus is a morning star from her elongation, or really before then at her station direct, there tend to be 7 Moon-Venus conjunctions as Venus, now approaching the sun, gets lower and lower and lower in the morning sky. And in Sumeria, Venus was known as Inanna. So perhaps you've heard that wonderful, powerful tale of Inanna's descent into the underworld, and later her rise back from that place, her sister Erishkigal's place, the Kur. Well, on the way down, Inanna stops at these 7 gates where she's forced to first remove her crown, and then earrings and necklace and breastplate and girdle of birthstones and a ring of power, and finally at the 7th gate, the red robe, which maybe we should call the first gate, because it's very clearly associated with the first chakra. And this is that 7th Moon-Venus conjunction since Venus stationed direct in this cycle that I call a Capricorn-Libra cycle. You can find some videos that I've put up this year of 2022 all about that. But I will say that this is a time where in the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School approach, we are collectively called to take off the red robe, to release ourselves of root chakra contamination, meaning things like fears. What are we gripping onto? Why are we so afraid to release? Because this will be the time soon after this. We're probably in this particular cycle, we will be able to see visibly, depending on where you're looking from, an 8th Moon-Venus conjunction before Venus disappears in her journey beyond the sun. Behind the sun, Venus will go away for like 60 to 100 days. We might see that one, we might not. I didn't see this one, sadly, because of clouds, but Venus is very visible still as a morning star at this time. That won't be for much longer. And then Venus disappears, journeys behind the sun where we will never see, and then later reappears as an evening star. And then there will be 7 Moon-Venus conjunctions in the sunset west, starting with Venus very low and eventually on high where Venus reclaims the crown. But first, when she comes up, she'll take the red robe back. And that's like taking back groundedness, solidness, security, like happening root chakra stuff. But now we're called to release. And for the sake of what I call a Capricorn Libra cycle, it is about bringing new foundations through the callings of the heart. That is the intention in our initiations, which will come around the time of the Scorpio solar eclipse. It's October 25th, a couple of days before October 23rd, Venus aligns behind the sun, the first time in our lives in the tropical sign of Libra. And for me, that says, and it's a big deal, it's a homecoming in some ways, but it's also where an initiation will take place, that if you want to, through the voice of love, create new foundations, literally a new ground to stand upon, this is going to require the initiation of honoring both sides of a thing and our many relations. So in fact, when we really honor that, there are no sides of a thing. There's only a thing. So we will see how that goes. At this time, we're being asked to take off the red robe, release our attachments to the code of what we believe is right and wrong and that kind of thing. And that's obviously tricky stuff, right? And very importantly, this is happening in the last days of the Cancer month, right? As I'm transmitting this now, before this Leo new moon. When Venus is morning star, she receives the moon. Sorry, did I say evening? When Venus is morning star, she receives the moon shortly before the new moon, right? Moon sees Venus and then heads into the next sign in this case and meets the sun for the monthly synod meeting that we call new moon, where we plant seeds for the month ahead. So the robe that is red now released, and we can empty the vessel and prepare ourselves for this death and rebirth. That sounds so Scorpio. Cool. Well, that's going to happen in Scorpio time, actually. Like Libra Scorpio zone for now. Let's talk about the light. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about vibrant, roaring lion radiance. Let's talk about honor, royalty, celebrity, not those scary skeletons on the silver screens. No, I'm talking about the righteous one, the righteous reina, sovereign, that we would follow into battle because their horse is first in line. And this battle, my friends, is worth fighting. It is the battle for self-love in a world where we were told that loving yourself is ego, vanity, that confidence is cockiness, that pride is arrogance. How could we possibly uncage the creative self, which basically has a lion's tail paintbrush, right? And pride, proud, that nature, it is the paint. Like when we are painting this canvas of our life's experience, our great work, from that place of honor and play, yes, that is something to be very proud of, right? And pride in so many ways is the fuel in the Leo realms, like true, real pride. All right. So what I wrote about Venus Lilith squaring Jupiter in this chart to a moon sun trine with Jupiter. You'll notice I'm speaking faster planet first. It's good grammar. Musically, this translates to moving from A minor to A major. In this case, I'm actually adding in contributions from the E from Scorpio and the G. It was a minor 7 to major 7 from Saturn. And so it sounds more, here's just the general tension to release. So, but we're doing this. Can be the most subtle things that really change everything. In the words of my friend David J., an amazing artist and songwriter, the song he wrote for love and rockets, actually. It's as simple as a flower, and that's a complicated thing. So the image I wanted to send over to Erik, along with that simple suggestion of harmonic play based upon this strong aspect figure in the new moon chart, was the Garden of Eden is boring without the turbulence of truth. So Adam and Eve gladly accept the tree's serpent's strange, shiny fruit. Okay, Mercury and Mars Uranus, there should be a little hyphen there, But, you know, let's wait for the Virgo month to deal with that. So Mercury in the square with Mars, Uranus. I mean, especially Uranus. It's perfect. It's partile, which means same degree, and it's applying. Mercury moving much faster than Uranus. Actually, this is just about as fast as Uranus gets. Sorry, Mercury gets. Uranus is slowing down to station retrograde in about a month and a half. So very soon after this new moon meeting, Mercury's ray will meet Uranus, and Uranus and Mars on the superior side, we say they rose first. They're overcoming Mercury. Like, that's a pretty strong square that's going down. I think Mercury maybe is in his own terms. Yeah, just barely. So from the eyes of essential dignity, that should help. However, that's a really strong square for Mercury to be dealing with. Here's Mercury here, who has that little plus on the medieval scorecard because he's in his own bounds or in his own terms. Okay, back to this page. So that square, and then I'm looking at the release, maybe this trine to Chiron. What do we see? Oh no, I'm just basically saying no release for this one. Look at the strength of this grand cross, right? So Mercury applying to square Uranus, separating from Mars. Shortly after that Uranian square, Mercury will move on to square the nodes. Saturn is heading backwards to do the same. Right? I mean, that is just strong energy. I really would need paragraphs and paragraphs to talk about that. And instead of that, let's just have an image and then listen to the music. So I wrote, the outlaw has tied our harrow to the tracks, and we hear the whistle blow. Ooh, yikes. So let's hear this grand cross in the fixed signs. I will root this with C# for Leo at the bottom and go this way. And there's 4 grand crosses in the chart, the 4 modalities. There's 4 fully diminished 7th chords in Western harmony, and this one sounds like this. Tied to the train tracks, and we hear the whistle blow. Like, it ain't so pretty. When we're listening to Erik's song at the end of this thing and you hear it get like really tense, that's this. And it's really strong all month long. As we saw before, it's very much configured in this new moon chart as well, where the new moon now has the moon and the sun aligned square the nodes, which means, by the way, the furthest thing from an eclipse possible. We are halfway between eclipse seasons. Those seasons happen when the sun is near the moon and sun's crossing points, which are the lunar nodes. When the sun is square the nodes, some have come to call this time the moon wobbles of the year. Then we are halfway in between the previous eclipse season and the forthcoming eclipse season. And though it's literally the furthest thing from an eclipse, this will be the moon in the northern hemisphere sky well below the shadow of Earth. Though it's the furthest thing from an eclipse season, they get very eclipsy. It's as if the previous eclipse is now passing that dragon baton to the ones to come in about 3 months' time. And so anytime you have the wobbles, the time when the sun is square the nodes, the new and full moons are going to create a grand cross with the nodes. They're not always this strong by degree at all. And very importantly, there's not always other planets involved, like Uranus so close to North Node now, Saturn so close to the square. Mars, who you can see at the time of the new moon, is kind of passing through, at the full moon. At the new moon, quite configured. And at the new moon, though moon and sun are in earlier degrees, it's Mercury there, right? So we just have these strong grand crosses. I mean, let's actually look at the time of moon square sun. So the opening quarter square of the cycle, or the waxing half moon, which is this. Yeah, now I mean the moon and sun are already very strongly configured to that square. Mercury split, he's gone home. Virgo, he's like enough of that, right? But look at this Mars Saturn strength of the Mars Saturn square at that time, with Saturn, to use traditional terms, overcoming Saturn on this, overcoming Mars on the superior square. And there will be times when we find, like the next day, for example, moon, some hours before then, but moon will be besieged. So between the rays, and in this case, the so-called hard rays or square and opposition rays of Saturn on the square and Mars, right? So here she's still applying to Mars. There's moon between Mars and Saturn, August 5th. That looks like a particularly tricky time of this rather tricky month when we analyze these happenings through, the timings of the four principal phases of the lunation and the strength of this grand cross. So here's the full moon, where we certainly see it there. Let's look at the third quarter moon of the cycle, the waning half moon. And now look at where the moon is, right? So applying to Mars. So once again, I mean, fortunately in this case, Mercury is kind of breaking up some of the scene between the moon square with Saturn. She gets the trine with Mercury. Maybe Mercury moves really quickly, but yeah, well, I'm not going to chase that down right now. Actually, yes, I am. I want to see where moon squares Saturn. You heard Isabel talking about how she feels about that one. Yeah, moon will square Saturn at 2135 and then gets to trine Mercury at 2137 before conjoining Mars. That's like Mercury kind of breaking up the besiegement, which, by the way, you want. But let's get back to this final moon sun square of this month. Looks pretty tricky. Yeah. So what about these fixed signs in general and their cross? My mantra for them is fix yourself to fix the world. And I think when we're inspired to plant Leo seeds, and maybe the initiation of fullness is in Aquarian ways, there's something about, look, do not lose yourself in the crowd. Like that does not empower the crowd. You've been taught that, right? That kind of, communist model. No, like you've been taught to stay small so other people will feel equal and okay. Like that can be the theme, especially Saturn in Aquarius realm, or when we speak Libra. Libra's not on this chart, Aries is, in a big way, in a really big way, especially at the new moon time. Yeah, fixed signs are fix yourself to fix the world. When we put Leo at the ascendant, we kind of hide Cancer away in the 12th too. This is a time to be as big and as bright and as beautiful and radiant as you are. Only you can do you. You know this, To speak from the word of Frozen, show yourself, right? You grow yourself, but show yourself, and showing yourself will help you know yourself, will help you grow yourself. It is your growth you give to the growth of the all. When we come in a big way, not an arrogant way, not a boisterous way with all mouth and no ears, but when we come knowing who we are into the crowd, now the crowd will dance to that rhythm, right? When everyone can be big. Yeah, let's have a world of equality, not by staying small to have equals, but by getting as big as we each individually can be to have equality. Yeah, that's the training here, and it does not come without tensions. It's like, you want to speak your truth, quiet down. Right? You want to speak your truth, you're not strong enough. Right? And it's deep soul stuff for the whole soul of the world, friends. All right. So it sounds like the outlaw being tied to the tracks and hearing the whistle blow. Mercury square Mars, Uranus to the Mercury trine with Chiron. Well, that was the one I thought I would see earlier, right? So tension and release. A pianist's years-long battle with, that should say tinnitus, but that's funny. Is it tendinitis or tinnitus? It's meant to be tendinitis. Maybe that's how you spell that. I don't think so. Anyway, a pianist's years-long battle with tendonitis forces her to develop the most amazing left hand of all time and allows her to reinvent the instrument. You know, a lot of pianists will have like strong right hand because it's doing typically more movement, melody stuff, right? And then the left hand's kind of playing a few chords or bass notes. But like if this one can't work and you have to play just like that for some time, you know, that ambidextrousness is going to show up and really allow you to cross over and kind of reinvent. And it's fun to feed Erik things like with the pianists in mind, because I know he's gone through stuff like that. All right, so you can hear that square, the Taurus Mars, you know, that kind of the energy of like challenged expression in a sense, you know, and sometimes because it's just caught up in the body or there's like heat in the body, that's where I'm hearing that, like Aries, Taurus Mars. But then that release to Chiron, who is not only a wound, friends, but the great maverick teacher. Okay, Mercury, Neptune, Pluto, Yod. I love doing these yods in our simple chromatic system because they end up creating the 1, 4, 5. What notes would these ones be? And you might say that's where our map kind of breaks down, because shouldn't quincunxes, which traditionally are called inconjunct, sound more like the other inconjunct neighboring signs? And on one level, I'd say yes. On another, I don't have time to explain why actually the 1, 4, and 5 has quite an invisibility thing. So let me just read what I wrote here, which is an absolutely perfect movie. Has the entire audience joyfully inching forward in their seats. Everyone oohs and ahs in unison. How is that a Mercury, Neptune, Pluto thing? let the mysteries reveal. And you might say, look, Mercury's at 18, Neptune 25, Pluto 27. Like, no way. Like, he's not close enough. Mercury moves very quickly, friends. So speaking of quickly, let's just talk about some of the significant happenings of the lunation. The Grand Cross Aquarius full moon, which I mentioned. Mercury through Virgo to Libra, like before the next new moon in the sign of Virgo. Mercury will have moved into Virgo, which we saw is happening pretty soon, right? And then have gone all the way through the sign of Virgo to Libra. Mercury's moving quite quickly now. Venus ingress Leo, right? It's wonderful energy. More of that radiant artistic queen. Mars ingress Gemini, right? So leaving a sign where Mars is said traditionally to be in exile, across the way from his home of Scorpio. Jupiter will station retrograde, and eventually this means head home to Pisces for a little encore before committing to a quick journey through Aries and into Taurus next year. Jupiter will station retrograde, and so will Uranus. Well, that happens for outer planets around the time that the Sun is on the opening trine. All right, so that's what we're hearing in this song. I thought I might have time to go through the signs. I have a reading in 4 minutes. Oh, but with a dear friend who speaks harmony so brilliantly. So hopefully she will understand, because I do want to offer just a very quick transmission of what if this thing is in your first house? So what if you were born with Leo on the rise? We'll start here. And I want to say, because I'm really feeling the square of the fixed signs, this is really about 1, 4, 7, 10. It's about the angular houses, or let's speak in the primary direction. 1, 10, 7, 4. It's youth and mid-age and old age and the tomb and the womb to begin it all again. But it's really these real world houses. This will apply if you're born with any of the fixed signs, which of course are Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Taurus on the rise. You know, it's going to be very real world, these energies for you this month. And it's going to be, I don't want to like sugarcoat this, pretty tense. But, you know, it is that like pressure that wants to help the form that diamond and help it emerge from, you know, that coal. It's that thing, right? So I know last time we were talking about crabs, this time I was talking about that pearl, you know. And there's going to be some energy, and perhaps you're going to feel it in the tension of your relationships, and that with your parents, and that with bosses or your job, or maybe I'm doing some work thing that is not me. I would say that one's especially alive in the Leo design, especially given that the Lord of the 10th or lady, who is Venus, is in the 12th in the Leo chart for this new moon, and Jupiter in the 9th, who's like, dude, you gotta go journey, receive a new vision of how you want to rock it. Like, you should be giving gifts in a way that are aligned with who you are. And so you might feel, it seems, depending on, where you are in your expression and how you give your energy, maybe you've already left that square job, and this is a time that's really going to launch you because you're seen for who you are. Maybe it's a time to split. And if not, probably feeling that tension, perhaps, of being in a place that isn't really you. That might feel, that place could be a job, it could be a home, it could be, the family domains. If you were born with Virgo on the rise, then the steersman Mercury with this new moon is in the 12th. It really is a time to be exploring the mystery, that which lies on the other side of the veil. That itself might be square to or in tension with, the religion of your youth or something like this, but we see some clear signs of revolting against or getting out of that. If you, like me, are a student of astrology, this actually could be a really cool time this month to find yourself through the exploration of another paradigm. And in this case, I would say something like new, like going to check out like Uranian astrology, seeing Uranus there, or something that doesn't, maybe resonate with how you're doing it now, but maybe there's just like a little gem for you to find somewhere far away. This is a time of travel in a sense, but mostly it's like sitting down, closing your eyes, traveling within, or perhaps like traveling through the memories that return when you read some ancient text. Okay, with Libra on the rise, and we see Venus in the 10th, this one might feel a little bit more divine in the regards to you, like aligned with who you are, what you do, your job as like a nurturing being, which is part of the Libra rising trip, seems to be like well seen and supported. There's certainly some information here around transformation, death, and rebirth, but there's a strong energy though square in like relational realms, but it really feels like a time where your community, your crew is supporting you. So as I said before, like, don't hide yourself from the collective, bring yourself to the collective, and then the collective itself, is inspired with your radiant fire, and you can be more inspired by theirs. Like for the Libra rising design, I feel like it's like, be less equal this month, or do not fall prey to this idea that equality is being small so you can lift the others up. No, lift yourself up and inspire them to lift themselves up. That's how this thing works. Fix yourself to fix the world. Scorpio rising, well, you're going to have to shine some light, right? So look, you're on a courageous path, and this is the deep dive. Leave no stone unturned. Do not be afraid to go into the underworld to find the shiniest gems. But you know what? It's also okay to be a friend and like shine that roaring smile. We don't have to be rolling around in a puddle of our own goo in every moment to feel like we are growing, friends. Sometimes, you know what? The phoenix doesn't have to burn to fly. It already has wings. And maybe this is a time just to show that thing that you've been working on, because you might find that in some of your partnerships, or especially if you're focused too much on reflections from your partnership, that you're just being asked to show the light. I think it's a time where your honor can be very much tested this month. So maybe just hearing that will help you with that huge decision. Stay loyal. Right. Okay. Sagittarius on the rise. It is the journey, friends. Go travel somewhere. Seriously, go explore. And with Jupiter, the steersman in the 5th, as it has been, passion, romance, risk. There is some joy to be found here in other lands. If you're not able to get in a car or on a train or jump on a plane, do it in a book. But even better, hopping on a plane at this time. And I would really encourage you to perhaps return to ancestral roots. Capricorn on the rise, where that statement is always true. We find this Leo time, of course, in your 8th. If you really want to be on a path of foundation, groundation, tradition, sometimes it feels like we need to slay this idea of radiance in play. But truthfully, if you want to be a leader in these times when we need them, you are on the path of eldership. Understand that people will react better to the carrot than they do to the stick. And that comes when you are not hiding yourself behind the wise beard, but rather showing all of your playful self and reminding the kids why they have come here to live and how to do it right, which means have fun. The eighth is not only what we think we must slay so we can walk the path we're on, it's where we will be reborn so we can walk that path in a brand new way. For these archetypes, just like us, have the right to evolve. Aquarius rising beings, it's all about relationship, y'all. Same thing, here we are, like the Leo or Scorpio rising. It's in these, angular houses, 1, 4, 7, 10. It is real world stuff. And this looks very relational. The general opposition, especially come full moon time with Sun and Saturn, who for the Leo rising chart or the Aquarius rising chart represent me and the other. There's some relationship things here that require you to choose your honor. And I would say this is a time for you to really smile upon others, give them compliments, receive compliments if you are in a relationship, like really find that joy, and be careful not to put too much of your attention, Aquarius rising, in this case, on the other side of the table. Pisces rising with this Leo bit in the 6th. Why do you do what you do? Your design finds Jupiter's Sagittarian sign on the 10th. You're here to be a seeker. So this is the only way through our own explorations where we can find true faith. We can't have compassion without a joint journey of passion, but maybe that's a tale for another time. However, with the South Node and the Scorpio sign, I would encourage you to remember your own heart as you do this, because if you don't, then you can fall ill, right? You're spending too much time feeling the pain of others. So focus on which brings you some joy. But again, why do you do what you do? Or let me say it this way, like, you cannot be a seeker. The smoke cannot rise and take its own path to the heavens unless there's a radiant fire. So what in you is that roaring flame that others can ignite their own candles from you? Where is that joy? Where is that pride? Make it your daily work. I would actually really encourage folks who were born with Pisces on the rise in this month to kind of work on those, like lion's breath, channeling heat. Make that your chop wood carry water this month. And again, like, you don't have to kill the ego to merge with the infinite. Why would you be here in a body if that was the only trip? There's something in what really helps you laugh, shine, and create like a kid that is the greatest gift of the compassionate. Okay, Aries on the rise with Leo in the 5th. Play. This is the design where we certainly find this idea that Sun and the 5th have something to do with one another. Traditionally, the Sun is said to rejoice in the 9th. So those of you who were born with Sagittarius on the rise, you really get to experience this in your wheel at this time of the year and this time of the month year with the new moon in Leo. But the idea of Sun in the 5th, it's a weird thing to say since, of course, that means nighttime, but it is a place where traditionally said Venus rejoices, of passion, romance, risk, play, just the unbridled creativity of the kid. Be that paintbrush, enjoy yourself. Jupiter in your 1st, that Leo new moon in the 5th. Don't get hung up about money. Go out and play. You're going to thank yourself for doing so. If you were born with Taurus in the rise, again, angular, right? And this Leo new moon is in the 4th. I would encourage you actually to go look at some pictures from when you were a kid. If you had a traumatic childhood, try to remember also those laughs, those beautiful things, or at least some pride for having come through that initiation to become this amazing being you are today. But hopefully you have some wonderful memories from when you were young. And I would actually encourage you to kind of contemplate how that, like, I wanted to be an astronaut. Well, that led me to astrologer in some strange way I would never predict. What was it? Like, what was your dream, your fantasy when you were a kid? Bring that shit back. Like, that is fuel. That is like the burning energy within the heart of your world. And we want to hear that now. And most importantly, Taurus rising, always remember to dance. In fact, I would maybe with Venus in the third in the Taurus rising chart for this new moon month, encourage you to learn some traditional dance, especially a dance from like your ancestors, the people from which you come, or anything that just feels fun, Maybe it's time for Samba class, y'all. All right, Gemini on the rise with Mercury in the third, in Leo cohabitation, about to emerge from under the beans. I think it's time to write that book. I think it's time to teach that class. I think you're wise enough. I think you've looked back. I think you're ready. So let's see it. Turn me on. Let me know where to sign up. All right, Cancer on the rise with that moon in the second. Let me just ask this question, and it's probably the right way to end this before I push play on Erik's wonderful song. And we'll go out aligning your own intentions, however you want them to be for this amazing month ahead. And let the song with its beauties and its tensions and fears like align with your own to plant some seeds for radiance play. So Cancer on the rise and Leo on the second. Let me ask this. How let me ask this. How do you speak English? What kind of nurturing world would we co-create if we knew that the most divine food was called play? See it in space.